Hello there, and welcome to 100 Facts Before Sleep. Tonight, we drift into the most profound mystery of our existence: time itself. It is not a river that flows, but a vast, quiet landscape that we move through. It is a dimension, woven into the fabric of space, that stretches and bends. Every law of physics, every memory you hold, and every moment of your life is defined by this single, invisible force. It is both our constant companion and our greatest illusion. If you enjoy these quiet journeys, I invite you to subscribe or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. For now, just breathe. Let your eyes grow heavy, and let the quiet wonder of time itself cradle your thoughts. Let's begin. Part 1. The Fabric of Reality Fact. 1. Time is often called the fourth dimension. We are all familiar with the three dimensions of space: length, width, and height. You can move forward, sideways, or up, but to define your location in the universe, you also need to say when you are. This when is the fourth dimension, time. You are always moving through it, from the past, through the present, and into the future. It is the invisible coordinate that pins every event, every particle, and every moment of your life to a specific point in the history of the universe. Fact 2. Time is not separate from space. Albert Einstein, in his theory of relativity, revealed something profound. He showed that space and time are not two different things, but are deeply, inextricably linked. They are woven together into a single, four-dimensional fabric called spacetime. Massive objects like stars and planets do not just sit in space. They create a dip or a curve in this fabric, like a bowling ball on a trampoline. This warping of space-time is what we feel as gravity, and it affects both space and time. Fact 3. Time is not constant. We live our lives as if a second is always a second, everywhere in the universe. But this is not true. Einstein's theory proved that time is relative. It can be stretched and compressed. This is called time dilation. There are two main ways this happens. The first is gravity. The stronger the gravitational field, the slower time flows. Time is literally passing more slowly for someone on the surface of the Earth than for someone in an airplane high above. The difference is impossibly small, but it is real, and it has been measured. Fact 4. Gravity's effect on time is profound. If you were to hover near the edge of a massive object, like a black hole, the gravity would be so extreme that time itself would slow to a crawl for you, relative to the outside universe. An astronaut near a black hole might experience only a few hours, but when they returned to their ship, they would find that their crewmates had aged by decades. They would have truly, physically traveled into the future, simply by lingering in a place where time was heavy. Fact 5. The second way time stretches is through speed. The faster you move through space, the slower you move through time. If you were to travel in a spaceship at nearly the speed of light, your internal clock, your watch, your heartbeat, your very thoughts would slow down relative to an observer on Earth. This leads to the famous twin paradox. If one twin stays on Earth and the other travels at light speed for a year, upon their return, the traveling twin would be 1 year older, but the Earth-bound twin would be many, many years older. Traveling fast is a proven one-way ticket to the future. Fact 6. There is no such thing as a universal now. It's a concept that is very difficult to grasp, as we are all so used to our own present moment. But because time is relative to both gravity and speed, and because light itself takes time to travel, your now is not the same as someone else's now. If you were on Mars, your now and a now on Earth would be fundamentally out of sync. There is no master clock for the universe. The past, present, and future are not absolute. They are relative to the observer. Fact 7. Time appears to have a direction. We call this the arrow of time. We are born, we grow older, and we cannot reverse the process. A broken egg cannot spontaneously reassemble itself. A ripple in a pond does not unripple. We remember the past, but we do not remember the future. This one-way street seems like the most fundamental rule of all, and yet, for all of its power over us, the deep underlying laws of physics at the level of a single particle do not seem to care which way time flows. A film of a billiard ball collision, run forward or backward, would look equally plausible. Fact 8. So, why does time have a direction? The most profound answer is entropy. Entropy is the scientific term for disorder or randomness. The second law of thermodynamics states that the total entropy of a closed system like our universe must always increase. The universe began in a state of very low entropy, highly ordered, all its energy packed into a tiny point. It has been expanding and becoming more disordered ever. The arrow of time is simply the universe's quiet, unstoppable march from order to disorder. You remember the past because it was more ordered. The future is unknown because it is, by definition, more chaotic. Fact 9. Time may not be infinitely smooth. Just as a digital image, when you zoom in far enough, is made of individual pixels, some physicists believe that spacetime itself might be quantized. This means there may be a smallest, indivisible unit of time. This is known as the Planck time. It is a length of time so incomprehensibly small, about $10 circumflex, -43 seconds, that our minds cannot even perceive it. At this tiniest of all scales, the very concepts of time and space may break down into a kind of quantum foam, a place where cause and effect are no longer clear. Fact 10. Time itself had a beginning. According to the Big Bang Theory, our entire universe, all of space, all of matter, and time itself, burst into existence from a single point of infinite density around 13.8 billion years ago. Before this moment, the very concept of before has no meaning. There was no timeline, no yesterday. Time is a property of our universe. It was born with the cosmos, and it has been unfolding ever since, carrying us with it. Part 2. The clock in your mind. Fact 11. Your brain has no single time center. Unlike sight, which is processed in the visual cortex, or language in Broca's area, there is no one spot in the brain that is the clock. Instead, your perception of time is a complex and delicate symphony, performed by many different parts of the brain working in concert. Your cerebellum, your basal ganglia, and your frontal cortex all contribute to your internal sense of rhythm, duration, and sequence. Your perception of time is not a simple reading, but a rich and complex construction. Fact 12. Your internal clock is fueled by chemistry. The neurotransmitter dopamine, which is associated with reward and motivation, plays a crucial role in how you perceive time. Higher levels of dopamine, such as when you are excited or anticipating something wonderful, can cause your internal clock to speed up. This makes the external world seem to slow down. This is why, in moments of great excitement or focus, you can feel like you have all the time in the world, your actions becoming precise and deliberate. Fact 13. Time seems to speed up as we age. It's one of the most common and melancholy human experiences. A childhood summer seems to last an eternity, while a full year as an adult can feel like it has vanished in a flash. The leading psychological theory for this is that our brains gauge time by the number of new memories we form. For a child, almost every experience is new. The first day of school, a new friend, a new place. The brain is constantly encoding. As we become adults, our lives fall into routines. The days, weeks, and months blur together into a familiar memory-light landscape. With fewer new memory markers to anchor the timeline, our brains perceive the time as having passed much more quickly. Fact 14. Time seems to slow down in an emergency. People who have been in a car crash or a life-threatening fall often report that the moments seem to happen in slow motion. They are not actually seeing more information. Rather, in this state of high alert, the brain's amygdala, its fear center, goes into overdrive. It commands the brain to record everything in the highest possible detail. When you later recall the event, you are recalling a memory that is far denser and more detailed than a normal memory. Your brain didn't slow time down. It just hit the record button so hard that the playback feels like it's in slow motion. Fact 15. The oddball effect reveals how novelty stretches time. If you are shown a series of identical images, one after another, and then suddenly a different image, an oddball, is shown, you will perceive that new image as having lasted for a longer duration of time, even if it was on the screen for the exact same length. This quiet perceptual quirk shows how our brains are wired. The familiar is processed quickly and efficiently. The new, the unexpected, demands more mental resources. The brain stretches that moment to give itself more time to understand what it is seeing. Fact 16. Your brain operates on a rhythm. It has an internal pacemaker, a collection of neurons that fire in a rhythmic, oscillating pattern. This internal beat is the basis for your ability to do things like tap your foot to music, swing a bat to hit a ball, or know, without looking at a clock, that about 5 minutes have passed. This internal metronome is constantly being calibrated by your brain, sped up by excitement or slowed down by boredom, to create your personal, ever-shifting experience of time. Fact 17. You have a quiet, 24-hour clock in your body. This is the circadian rhythm, a deep, ancient, and biological process that governs your cycles of sleep and wakefulness. It is not just in your brain. Virtually every organ in your body, from your liver to your skin, has its own internal daily clock, all working in harmony. This rhythm tells you when to feel sleepy, when to feel hungry, and when to be alert. It is a fundamental, biological timekeeper, deeply woven into your DNA. Fact 18. The study of these biological clocks is a whole field of science called chronobiology. It explores how these internal rhythms are not just conveniences, but are essential to our health. When our internal clocks are out of sync with the external world, it can affect everything from our mood to our metabolism. This field of science is a gentle reminder that we are not just living in time, but that time, in a very real biological way, is living inside of us. Fact 19. Jet lag is a form of time disorientation. When you fly across the world, you can arrive in a new place in a matter of hours. Your watch can be reset instantly, but your deep, biological circadian rhythm cannot. It is still anchored to the sun cycle of the place you left. The resulting mismatch, the feeling of being sleepy in the middle of the day, or wide awake at 3 a.m., is a profound physical experience of your internal clock being out of sync with the world. It is a reminder that our bodies have their own, much slower, time. Fact 20. Your body temperature affects your perception of time. Your internal clock is linked, in part, to your metabolic rate. When your body temperature is higher, as it is in the late afternoon, your internal clock can run slightly faster, making external time seem to pass a little more slowly. When your body temperature is low, as it is in the deep of night, your internal clock slows down. This is one reason why a fever can make the hours seem to drag on in a strange, distorted, and heavy way. Part 3. The human quest to measure. Fact 21. For most of human history, there was no time. There was only the cycle of day and night, the phases of the moon, and the slow, quiet turning of the seasons. The first timekeeping devices were sundials, which simply tracked the shadow of the sunday, but this was local time. The time in your village was different from the time in the next village. The idea of a single universal time did not truly exist until the invention of the first reliable mechanical clocks. Fact 22. Our most accurate measure of time is not based on the sun or the stars. It is based on the atom. The official definition of 1 second is not a fraction of a day, but is based on the movements inside a cesium atom. The most precise timekeepers ever built are atomic clocks. They are so incredibly accurate that they would not lose or gain a single second in over 100 million years. They are the quiet, stable metronome that synchronizes our entire modern world. Fact 23. Atomic clocks work by listening to the quiet, constant hum of nature. Inside the clock, cesium atoms are gently tossed up. As they fall, they are exposed to a microwave frequency. When that frequency is exactly right, the atoms resonate, changing their energy state. The clock is simply a device that listens for this perfect, unchanging resonance. 1 second is officially defined as the time it takes for 9,192,631,770 of these tiny atomic vibrations to occur. It is a second based not on our world, but on the fundamental constants of the universe. Fact 24. Our planet is an imperfect clock. The Earth's rotation on its axis is not perfectly stable. It is gradually, almost imperceptibly, slowing down due to the gentle, tidal pull of the moon. This means that our day is getting longer. To keep our ultra-precise atomic clocks in sync with the physical reality of the solar day, a leap second is occasionally added to the world's official time. It is a quiet, global correction, a single second of pause to let the spinning Earth catch up. Fact 25. The slowing of Earth's rotation is a profound record of deep time. When the dinosaurs roamed the Earth, a day was not 24 hours. It was closer to 23 and a half. And hundreds of millions of years before that, a day was even shorter. The moon was closer to the Earth, and its gravitational pull was stronger, acting as a more powerful brake. The moon is still drifting away from us, a few centimeters every year, and as it does, our planet's spin continues its long, slow, and quiet deceleration. Fact 26. The second has not always been a standard unit. The division of the hour into 60 minutes and the minute into 60 seconds comes to us from the ancient Babylonians. They used a base 60 number system, which they applied to both geometry and time. This ancient cultural decision, made thousands of years ago, is the quiet, invisible reason that your clock ticks in increments of 60, a silent, mathematical echo from a long-vanished civilization. Fact 27. GPS satellites must account for the bending of time. The global positioning system in your phone or car relies on a constellation of satellites, each with its own atomic clock. But those satellites are moving very fast, and they are in a weaker gravitational field than we are. This means their clocks are affected by both forms of Einstein's relativity. Their clocks, relative to us, run faster by about 38 microseconds every day. If scientists did not build a correction for time dilation into the system, the GPS network would fail within minutes. Your daily commute is a quiet, practical proof of Einstein's most profound theories. Fact 28. The past is all we can ever see. Time and the speed of light are linked. Light does not travel instantly. It takes time to move from an object to your eye. When you look at the person across from you, you are not seeing them as they are now, but as they were a few nanoseconds ago. This delay is too small to notice. But the principle is the most important one in all of astronomy. Every act of seeing is an act of looking into the past. Fact 29. Looking at the night sky is an act of time travel. The light from our moon takes about 1.5 seconds to reach us. We see it as it was 1.5 seconds ago. The light from our sun takes over 8 minutes. If the sun were to suddenly vanish, we would not know it for 8 minutes. The light from the nearest star, Proxima Centauri, takes over 4 years. And the light from the Andromeda Galaxy? That beautiful, faint smudge of light in the night sky? You are seeing it as it was 2.5 million years ago. You are looking at a quiet, ancient light photograph. Fact 30. We have seen the beginning of time. The oldest light in the universe that we can detect is not from a star or a galaxy. It is a faint, gentle, and uniform glow of microwave radiation that fills the entire sky. It is called the cosmic microwave background. This is the leftover heat, the quiet, fading echo of the Big Bang itself. It is the light from when the universe was only 380,000 years old, just a baby. It is the most ancient picture we will ever have, a direct glimpse of the dawn of our cosmos. Part 4. The Great Philosophical Puzzles. Fact 31. The philosophy of presentism suggests that only the present moment is real. In this view, the past is not a real place. It is just a collection of memories, a series of electrical and chemical traces in our brains. The future is also not a real place. It is just a projection, a set of possibilities. For the presentist, the now is all that has ever existed, a single moving spotlight of reality, and everything else is just a shadow or a dream. Fact 32. The opposite view is called eternalism. This idea, which is strongly supported by Einstein's theories, suggests that the past, the present, and the future are all equally real. That time is like a landscape, or a block, and all of it exists at once. We are just a consciousness, a spotlight, moving through this landscape. In this block universe model, the dinosaurs still exist in the past part of the block, and your future already exists in the future part. All of time is a single, complete, and unchanging object. Fact 33. The grandfather paradox is the most famous puzzle of time travel. If you were to build a time machine, go back into the past, and eliminate your own grandfather before he met your grandmother, you would never have been born. But if you were never born, how could you have gone back in time to do it? This creates a fundamental, logical contradiction. This paradox suggests to many physicists that any journey into the past that could change the present is simply fundamentally impossible. Fact 34. A more subtle puzzle is the bootstrap paradox. This is a paradox of a causal loop. Imagine a time traveler is given a copy of Hamlet from a future library. He travels back to the 16th century, meets a young playwright named William Shakespeare, and to impress him, gives him the book. Shakespeare, in turn, simply copies the play and publishes it as his own. The play goes on to become famous, is preserved for centuries, and ends up in the library for the time traveler to find. The question is, who wrote Hamlet? It is a story with no origin, an idea that exists in a perfect, quiet, and stable loop. Fact 35. The many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics offers a way out of these paradoxes. This theory suggests that every time a quantum choice is made, the universe splits. If you go back in time to change the past, you don't change your past. You simply create a new, parallel timeline, a new branch of the universe. In one universe, your grandfather is fine. In the new one you created, he is not. This allows for time travel to be possible without creating any logical contradictions, but it comes at the cost of an infinite number of silent, parallel realities. Fact 30e. Your memory is the only thing that proves the past exists. How do you know, for a fact, that the world was not created 5 minutes ago, complete with all of its buildings, its history books, and all of the memories in your mind? This is a profound and unanswerable philosophical puzzle. We rely on our memories as the primary evidence for the passage of time. This is the psychological arrow of time. Our ability to create and store new memories, but not to remember the future, is what gives our lives a sense of linear, forward motion. Fact 37. Albert Einstein, in his later years, wrote a letter to the family of a deceased friend. In it, he said, "Now he has departed from this strange world a little ahead of me. That means nothing. People like us know that the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion." For Einstein, his own theory suggested that time's flow was a product of human perception, not a feature of reality. It was a comforting, quiet thought that all of time is one, and that death is not an end, but just a change in one's coordinates. Fact 38. The thermodynamic arrow of time is the most fundamental. It is the only one that physics can truly point to. The universe is moving from a state of low entropy, order, to high entropy, disorder. You can break an egg, but you cannot unbreak it. The heat from your cup of coffee will always dissipate into the cooler room, and never, ever, will the random heat from the room gather itself and warm up your coffee. This one-way law of energy is the quiet, insistent, and unstoppable engine that pulls us all into the future. Fact 39. The cosmological arrow of time points in the same direction. The universe is expanding. The galaxies are all moving away from each other, and this expansion gives time its grandest, most majestic direction. Some have wondered if the universe were to one day stop expanding and begin to collapse, in a big crunch, would the arrow of time reverse? Would entropy decrease? Would we all live our lives backward? Most physicists believe this is not the case. The arrow of entropy would continue to point forward, even as the universe itself collapsed in on its own, chaotic future. Fact 40. The causal arrow of time is the one we live by every day. It is the simple, powerful idea that cause precedes effect. You drop a glass, then it shatters. You cannot have the shatter happen before you drop it. This simple, logical sequence seems to be the deepest rule of all. And yet, in the strange world of quantum physics, there are experiments that suggest this too might be more of an illusion than a law, a spooky connection that seems to defy our most basic understanding of what before and after even mean. Fact 41. Inside a black hole, time and space swap roles. According to Einstein's equations, once you cross the event horizon, the one-way door of a black hole, reality becomes profoundly distorted. The spatial dimension that points to the center, to the singularity, becomes a temporal one. It becomes your future. You can no more stop yourself from moving toward the singularity than you can stop yourself from moving toward next Tuesday. It is no longer a place in space, but an inevitable moment in your future. Fact 42. The event horizon is a horizon in time. For an observer watching you fall into a black hole from a safe distance, a very strange thing would happen. As you got closer to the horizon, the intense gravity would stretch time for you. To the outside observer, your movements would appear to slow down. You would get redder and dimmer. You would appear to slow to a complete stop, frozen in time, on the surface of the black hole, for all of eternity. You, however, in your own reference frame, would feel no such thing, and would cross the boundary in an instant. Fact 43. Time travel is real, but only in one direction. We are all time travelers. We are all moving into the future at a rate of 1 second per second. But as Einstein's theories showed, you can change that rate. If you want to travel far into Earth's future, you have two options. Either go very, very fast in a spaceship, or go and linger for a while near a very, very strong source of gravity, like a black hole. Both are proven physical mechanisms for one-way time travel. Fact 44. At the singularity, time itself ceases to exist. At the very center of a black hole, all of its mass is crushed into a point of infinite density. At this point, our current laws of physics, including Einstein's, break down completely. The curvature of spacetime becomes infinite, and the concept of time as we know it, the concept of before and after, simply ceases to have any meaning. It is the end of the timeline, a true dead end in the fabric of the cosmos. Fact 45. A wormhole is a hypothetical shortcut through spacetime. Also known as an Einstein-Rosen bridge, it is a theoretical tunnel that connects two distant points in space. But because space and time are linked, a wormhole could also, in theory, connect two different times. You could enter a wormhole in your backyard and exit in your backyard, but 1 week earlier. However, all of our current physics suggests that such a wormhole, if it could even be created, would be wildly unstable, collapsing in on itself the instant it formed. Fact 46. The mathematics of time travel are called closed time, like curves. This is a path through spacetime that, if you follow it, you end up back where and when you started. It is a loop in the fourth dimension. While the equations of general relativity technically allow for these loops to exist, they seem to require exotic, impossible things to create them, such as a spinning cylinder of infinite length, or matter with negative energy, a substance which has never been observed and may not be real. Fact 47. The heat death of the universe is a possible end of time. This is the scenario where the universe continues to expand, cool, and become more disordered forever. In this far, far future, trillions of years from now, all the stars will have burned out, all the black holes will have evaporated. The universe will become a cold, dark, and perfectly uniform soup of stray particles. With no change, no heat, and no order, the very concept of time and its arrow would become meaningless. It would be an age of quiet, cold, and eternal twilight. Fact 48. The Big Crunch was another, once, popular theory. This was the idea that gravity might one day overcome the expansion of the universe, and everything would begin to fall back in on itself, culminating in a reverse Big Bang. This led to the fascinating and poetic idea of a cyclical universe, a big bounce, where the universe would crunch, then bang, then crunch, then bang, in an endless cycle. In this model, time would not have an end, but would be an eternal, quiet rhythm of death and rebirth. Fact 40e. The Big Rip is a more violent and newer theory. This theory is based on the mysterious dark energy that is causing the universe's expansion to accelerate. If this dark energy is powerful enough, it might not just push galaxies apart. In the far future, it could become so strong that it would overcome gravity itself. It would first rip our galaxy apart. Then, it would rip the solar system apart. Then, it would rip the Earth apart. In the final, silent moments of the universe, it would become strong enough to rip atoms themselves apart. It would be the ultimate end, a tearing of the very fabric of space-time. Fact 50. The no-boundary proposal is a mind-bending idea about the beginning. Stephen Hawking and James Hartle proposed that the universe may not have had a beginning in the way we think. As you go back in time, toward the Big Bang, the nature of time itself might change, becoming more spatial. It would round off, like the South Pole on a globe. Just as there is no beginning point south of the South Pole, there may be no beginning moment before the Big Bang. In this quiet, elegant model, the universe and time itself simply is, without a start or a creation point. Part 6. The quiet rhythm of life. Fact 51. Your biological clock is in your DNA. The circadian rhythm, that 24-hour cycle of sleeping and waking, is not just a habit. It is a deep, genetic mechanism. In almost all of your cells, there are clock genes that quietly turn on and off in a precise 24-hour loop. This molecular feedback loop is the quiet internal metronome that keeps your whole body in sync, a genetic memory of the 24-hour rotation of our planet. Fact 52. You have a chronotype. This is the scientific term for whether you are a morning lark or a night owl. This, too, is largely genetic. It is not a matter of willpower or laziness. Some people's internal clocks are just naturally set to run a little earlier, making them feel alert and active at dawn. Others are set to run later, making them feel most creative and productive in the quiet, late hours of the night. It is a fundamental, biological part of your identity. Fact 53. Flowers have internal clocks. The 18th century botanist Carl Linnaeus created a flower clock. He designed a garden bed with different species of flowers, all of which opened or closed their petals at a specific, reliable time of day. The morning glory would open at dawn. The 4 o'clock flower would open in the late afternoon. This quiet floral rhythm is not a reaction to the sun. It is an internal circadian clock, just like ours, a plant's own way of keeping time. Fact 54. Hibernation is a form of biological time stretching. For a bear or a squirrel, time is not a constant flow. To survive the long, cold, and foodless winter, they enter a state of suspended animation. Their metabolism, their heart rate, and their breathing slow down to almost nothing. They are, in essence, pausing their own biological time, stretching a few months of food reserves over the course of a long winter. They are quiet, natural time travelers, sleeping their way into the future, waiting for the spring. Fact 55. Your brain has a master clock. While almost every cell in your body has its own clock, they all must be synchronized. This job belongs to a tiny, pin-sized cluster of nerve cells in your brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN. It is located right above the optic nerves. This master clock takes its cues from the most reliable time signal in the world, the presence of sunlight. Fact 56. Light is the great calibrator of time. When the sun rises and light hits your optic nerve, a signal is sent to the SCN. The SCN then sends out a wake-up signal to the rest of your body, telling it to stop producing the sleep hormone, melatonin, and to start the day. This is why light, especially the blue light from our phones and screens, can be so disruptive at night. It is a signal that directly and falsely tells your master clock that it is still daytime, throwing your entire, delicate, internal rhythm out of sync. Fact 57. The mayfly experiences a life in a day. Its adult form emerges, reproduces, and dies, all within a 24s. It has no mouth, no stomach. Its only purpose is to pass on its genes in the single day of time it is allotted. This is a profound and quiet demonstration of time scale. For the mayfly, a single day is an entire, complete lifetime. For us, it is a fleeting moment. It is a reminder that long and short are just a matter of perspective. Fact 58. The bristlecone pine is a quiet, living monument to deep time. These gnarled, ancient trees, living high in the mountains of California, are the oldest known non-clonal organisms on Earth. Some of them are nearly 5,000 years old. A single living tree on a lonely mountain was already a sapling when the Great Pyramids of Giza were being built. It has been standing, quietly, slowly, as all of recorded human civilization has risen and fallen beneath it. Fact 59. Memory is your personal form of time travel. It is the only way we have of truly revisiting the past. When you recall a cherished memory, your brain is not just playing a recording. It is actively and chemically rebuilding that moment. The same neurons that fired when you first experienced the event. The sights, the sounds, the emotions fire again. It is a quiet neurological echo, a way for your mind to fold time back on itself and let you, for a brief, warm moment, be in two times at once. Fact 60. Some creatures may live in an eternal present. We do not know what the consciousness of another animal is like, but it is possible that for a creature like a jellyfish or an insect, there is no memory of a past and no anxiety for a future. There may be only a pure, sensory now, a continuous, streaming series of moments, of stimulus and response, without the complex, time-bound narrative of a life story. A quiet, and in some ways peaceful, existence. Part 7. The Quiet Illusions of Time. Fact 61. The feeling that a watched pot never boils is a real psychological effect. It is a perfect example of attentional gating. When you are bored or eagerly anticipating a single specific event, your brain devotes an unusually high amount of attention to the passage of time itself. You are opening the gate wide, and you are consciously counting the seconds. This heightened awareness of time itself makes it feel as if it is passing with agonizing slowness. Fact 62. Boredom literally stretches time. When our brains are not engaged, when we are not receiving new or interesting stimuli, our internal clock seems to take over. With nothing else to process, our attention turns inward, to the ticking of our own mental clock. This is why a 10-minute wait in a boring room can feel like an hour, while an hour spent in a deep, engaging conversation can feel like 10 minutes. Time, in our perception, is not a river. It is a piece of elastic, stretched by boredom and compressed by joy. Fact 63. The flow state makes time disappear. This is the opposite of boredom. When you are completely and blissfully absorbed in a task, whether it is painting, writing, playing music, or a sport, you can enter a psychological state known as flow. In this state, your sense of self, your inner critic, and your perception of time all seem to fall away. Your brain is so efficiently and completely focused on the task at hand that it simply stops dedicating resources to monitoring the passage of time, and so hours can vanish in what feels like a single, peaceful, and perfect moment. Fact 64. The holiday paradox is a strange trick of our memory. It has two parts. While you are on the holiday, time can feel like it is flying by, because you are engaged and having fun. But when you look back on the holiday, it seems to have lasted for a very long time. This is because, as we've learned, our brain judges the duration of a past event by the number of new memories it created. A holiday is packed with new sights, new sounds, and new experiences. That dense collection of memories makes the past seem longer in retrospect. Fact 65. Music is the art of sculpting time. A piece of music is a journey that is defined entirely by its relationship with time. The tempo, the rhythm, the duration of the notes, and the silent, structured pauses in between all of these are a direct manipulation of our temporal perception. A slow, quiet adagio can make a minute feel vast and emotional. A fast, frantic allegro can pack 1,000 moments into a single, exhilarating rush. Music is, in its purest form, a kind of controlled, emotional timekeeping. Fact 66. Nostalgia is a quiet, edited form of time travel. When we feel nostalgic, we are not just remembering the past. We are remembering it with a powerful, emotional filter. Our minds tend to gently and quietly edit our memories, softening the bad parts and amplifying the good. Nostalgia is a rosy-colored recollection. It is a memory that has been polished over time, a quiet internal story we tell ourselves, a safe and comforting version of the past that we can visit whenever we feel the need. Fact 67. Déjà vu is a glitch in your brain's time-keeping. That strange, eerie feeling of, "I've been here before," is not a glimpse into a past life. Most neuroscientists believe it is a tiny, split-second processing error in the brain. It is a hiccup in your memory system. An experience is written to your short-term memory and your long-term memory at the exact same instant, instead of in the correct sequence. The result is that your brain experiences a feeling of familiarity for a moment. That is, by all accounts, brand new. Fact 68. Jamais vu is the opposite, and stranger. Glitch. Where déjà vu is a false sense of familiarity, jamais vu is a false sense of unfamiliarity. It is the sudden, unsettling feeling that a word, a place, or a person you know intimately has become suddenly strange, new, and unrecognizable. If you have ever repeated a simple word like door over and over again until it loses all meaning and just becomes a strange sound, you have given yourself a mild, quiet case of jamais vu. Fact 69. Time in our dreams is completely fluid. A dream that seems to span an entire lifetime, a long and epic journey, may in reality only last for a few minutes of real clock time. In the dream state, our brains are free from the linear, logical arrow of time. The narrative is not bound by cause and effect, but by emotion and association. Our dreaming mind is a place where time can be stretched, compressed, looped, and even run in reverse, a quiet, nightly reminder of how flexible our perception of reality can be. Fact 70. Our sense of time is an internal construct. There is no sensory organ for time. You cannot see it, hear it, or touch it. The fact that you feel a smooth, continuous, and forward-moving flow of time is one of the most magnificent and most mysterious creations of your own mind. It is a story, a narrative, that your brain weaves together from a million different inputs from light, from memory, from chemistry, and from biology to give your life a sense of order, meaning, and direction. Part 8. Time at the smallest scales. Fact 71. Time stops at the speed of light. This is one of the most profound and mind-bending consequences of Einstein's theory. For an object with mass, it would take an infinite amount of energy to reach the speed of light. But for a particle that is born at the speed of light, like a photon, time does not exist. A photon that travels from the Andromeda galaxy for 2.5 million years, from its own point of view, experiences no time at all. The moment of its creation and the moment of its absorption are one and the same. For light, all of time is a single instant. Fact 72. Tachyons are hypothetical particles that travel faster than light. If they existed, their properties would be truly bizarre. They would have imaginary mass, and they would, in a sense, be traveling backward in time. Their arrow of causality would be reversed. For a tachyon, the effect would happen before the cause. While they are a fun, theoretical possibility allowed by the math, no tachyon has ever been detected, and they remain in the quiet realm of science fiction. Fact 73. The twin paradox is a real physical fact. If one twin took a high-speed journey and returned, they would be younger than the twin who stayed home. This isn't a paradox in the sense of a contradiction. It's a paradox in the sense that it violates our common sense. The reason for the difference is acceleration. The traveling twin had to speed up, turn around, and slow down. This act of acceleration is what breaks the symmetry and makes their clock and their body experience a truly, physically different amount of time. Fact 74. Time may be grainy. We've discussed the Planck time, the smallest theoretical unit. If time is quantized or grainy, it means it doesn't flow like a smooth river, but ticks like a cosmic clock in tiny, discrete, indivisible steps. We could never perceive this, but if it is true, it means that motion itself is an illusion. An object would not be moving, but would be disappearing from one point in spacetime and reappearing at the next available pixel one Planck time later. Fact 75. Quantum mechanics makes time fuzzy. At the quantum level, the arrow of time is not absolute. Events do not always have a clear before and after. A particle can, in a very real sense, be in two places at once, and it can, in a sense, take two paths at once, one forward in time and one backward. This quantum fuzziness at the heart of reality is a deep, and quiet mystery that physicists are still trying to understand. Fact 76. Time crystals are a real and newly discovered state of matter. We are all familiar with normal crystals, like salt or a diamond, where the atoms are arranged in a repeating, orderly pattern in space. A time crystal is a state of matter where the atoms are in a repeating, orderly pattern in time. They are in a constant, rhythmic motion, a stable tick that repeats itself without using any energy. It is a quiet, quantum metronome, a new and bizarre form of perpetual motion that seems to defy our old understanding of physics. Fact 77. Our universe has a light travel time, and it is 13.8 billion years. This is what we call the age of the universe. But this is a measure of our time as we perceive it. And because the universe is expanding, and that expansion is accelerating, the observable universe, the part we can see, is actually much larger. The physical edge of the observable universe is now about 46.5 billion light-years away. It is a quiet, humbling thought that the universe is larger than the entire history of its own light. Fact 78. We measure the universe's age by listening to its expansion. We can measure the speed at which distant galaxies are moving away from us. We can then run the clock backward, calculating how long it would have taken for all of those galaxies, moving at those speeds, to have started from a single tiny point. The answer, from all our best measurements, is a quiet and consistent 13.8 billion years. Fact 79. The geological timescale is how we comprehend Earth's deep time. Human history is measured in centuries, but the Earth's history is measured in eons, eras, and periods. The entire span of recorded human civilization is just a tiny, imperceptible sliver at the very end of this vast 4.5 billion year timeline. It is a quiet and humbling calendar that puts our entire existence into perspective. Fact 80. The concept of deep time is a profound and quiet one. It is the idea of trying to comprehend the sheer, vast, and silent age of the Earth and the cosmos. It is the time it takes for mountains to rise and be worn down to dust. It is the time it takes for continents to drift apart. It is a timescale so vast that our own lives, our human time, feels almost instantaneous. It is a perspective that is both terrifying and deeply peaceful. Part 9. The Fantasy of Time. Travel. Fact 81. The Novikov self-consistency principle is a comforting, quiet idea. It is a proposed solution to the grandfather paradox. The principle suggests that the laws of physics are structured in such a way as to make any paradox impossible. If you went back in time to change the past, you would find that you could not. Your gun would jam. You would slip on a banana peel. You would have a change of heart. The universe, in a quiet, subtle way, would conspire be to ensure that you would only and ever do the things that already happened. You would become a part of the past, not a destroyer of it. Fact 82. The many worlds hypothesis is the great alternative. It suggests that if you went back in time and did change the past, you would not create a paradox. You would simply create a new parallel universe. In your home timeline, the past is unchanged. But in this new timeline, a new history branches off. In this model, the past is like a great, quiet river, and your actions are like digging a new, smaller channel for it to flow through. Fact 83. The Tipler cylinder was a serious, mathematical thought experiment. Frank Tipler proposed that if you took a massive, infinitely long cylinder and spun it at nearly the speed of light, it would drag space-time around with it so intensely that it would create closed time, like curves. You could, in theory, fly your spaceship around this cylinder in a precise spiral, and you would arrive back at your starting point, but at an earlier time. It is a mathematically sound, but physically impossible, time machine. Fact 84. Stephen Hawking proposed the chronology protection conjecture. He was troubled by the fact that the laws of physics seem to allow for time travel and its paradoxes. He proposed this conjecture, which is a scientific hunch, that the universe must have some as yet unknown law of physics that prevents time travel to the past from ever occurring. He famously said, "It seems there is a chronology protection agency which prevents the world from being made safe for historians." He even held a party for time travelers in 2009, but he only sent out the invitations after the party was over. No one came. Fact 85. The flow of time might be a complete illusion. This goes back to the block universe idea. In this model, there is no flow. There is no movement. The past, present, and future are just there. Like the frames of a movie reel, we experience a flow simply because our consciousness, our spotlight, is moving along the reel, illuminating one frame at a time. But the beginning, the middle, and the end of the film all exist simultaneously. Fact 86. Causality is the law that time cannot be reversed. Cause must precede effect. This is the causal arrow of time. And yet, at the quantum level, this is not always so clear. In certain experiments, an effect can seem to choose its cause. This spooky connection, which Einstein hated, suggests that our deep-rooted, common-sense understanding of time is, at its very core, incomplete. Fact 87. Time travel to the future is an engineering problem. Time travel to the past is a physics problem. We know how to travel to the future. We just need to build a rocket that can go very fast, or a ship that can withstand the gravity of a black hole. But time travel to the past? We do not even know if it is possible. It may be that the very laws of the universe, in a quiet, profound way, forbid it to protect the very logic of its own existence. Fact 88. The bootstrap paradox is a loop of information. Imagine you are a time traveler. You hear a beautiful piece of music from the future. You memorize it, travel back to the 18th century, and write it down, publishing it as your own. That composer, say, Beethoven, then becomes famous for it. The music is preserved and ends up in the future for you to hear. So, who wrote the music? It has no origin. It is a piece of information that was bootstrapped into existence, a quiet, perfect, and timeless loop. Fact 89. The present is not a single instant. It is a window of time. Your brain cannot process the world instantaneously. It takes time for the signals from your eyes, your ears, and your skin to travel to your brain and be assembled into a coherent picture of reality. Your subjective now is actually a smear of time, a small window of a few hundred milliseconds. Your present is in fact already in the past. Fact 90. Time is perhaps just a measure of change. If nothing in the universe ever changed, would time still exist? If all the atoms were frozen, in a single, unchanging state, would a second still pass? Many philosophers and physicists argue that it would not. That time is change. It is not a thing in itself, but simply a relationship, a measurement, of one thing changing relative to another. It is the quiet, unfolding story of the universe. Fact 90. Time is, perhaps, just a measure of change. If nothing in the universe ever changed, would time still exist? If all the atoms were frozen in a single, unchanging state, would a second still pass? Many philosophers and physicists argue that it would not. That time is change. It is not a thing in itself, but simply a relationship, a measurement, of one thing changing relative to another. It is the quiet, unfolding story of the universe. Part 10. The final quiet. Fact 91. The arrow of time is not found in the most fundamental laws. If you look at the equations for quantum mechanics, or general relativity, they work just as well forward in time as they do backward. This is a profound and quiet mystery. The one-way flow of time, which is the most dominant feature of our reality, seems to be an emergent property of the macro world, of large, complex systems. It is not a fundamental property of a single particle. Fact 92. The universe might, one day, repeat itself. This is the Poincaré recurrence theorem. It suggests that in a finite system, which our observable universe may be, if you wait long enough, the system will, just by random chance, eventually return to a state that is arbitrarily close to its original starting condition. If long enough means an infinite amount of time, this suggests that the universe, and perhaps your own life, in all its exact detail, will one day, in the deep, quiet future, happen all over again. Fact 93. The end of time in the block universe is not a death. It is just the end of the block. If all of time, past, present, and future exists as one complete, four-dimensional object, then the end of time is just the end of the object. It is no more sad than the fact that a ruler has an end. It is just the point where the dimension of time finishes its measure. All the moments of your life are not gone. They are forever, and quietly embedded in their proper place in the block. Fact 94. The proton decay hypothesis is a very, very slow end. Some theories of physics suggest that protons, the building blocks of all matter, are not perfectly stable, that they decay over a timescale of trillions and trillions and trillions of years. This is a timescale so vast it makes the heat death of the universe seem quick. It is a slow, quiet, and ultimate fading of all the matter in the cosmos, until nothing is left but a faint, cold mist of energy. Fact 95. The Boltzmann brain is a terrifying, lonely, philosophical puzzle. It is a thought experiment. If you wait long enough, a truly infinite time, in a universe of pure chaos, it is statistically possible that a fully formed, conscious, thinking brain would, just by the random shuffling of atoms, pop into existence, complete with a full set of false memories of a life that was never lived. The paradox is that some calculations suggest this is more likely than the creation of an entire, low-entropy universe like ours. It is a quiet and unsettling thought. Fact 96. Time is what stops everything from happening at once. This is a simple, almost flippant quote, but it holds a profound truth. Time is the dimension that spreads reality out, that creates the sequence of events. It is what allows for a story to be told, for a before and an after, for a cause and an effect. Without time, the entire 13.8 billion year history of the universe would be a single, crushed, incomprehensible instant. Fact 97. Our perception of time is a story. It is the narrative our brain tells itself to make sense of the world. It is a story that is shaped by our chemistry, by our memories, by our culture, and by our attention. It is a story that can be bent by joy, stretched by sorrow, and dissolved by a deep, peaceful sleep. Fact 98. Time is the quiet, invisible ink in which all of history is written. It is the dimension of change, the measure of memory, and the space between a cause and its effect. It is the most familiar and the most mysterious aspect of our reality. Fact 99. The present moment, your now, is a beautiful and fleeting gift. It is the only part of time you can ever truly experience. The past is a quiet, unchangeable memory. The future is a vast, unwritten possibility, but the now is real. It is the one, simple, solid point of contact you have with the universe. Fact 100. And so, as you drift off to sleep, you are, in a very real sense, a time traveler. You are quietly and gently leaving this now and preparing to move into the now of tomorrow. You are a passenger on this great, silent, and beautiful journey. So, for now, just rest. Let the fabric of space-time hold you, and let the quiet, deep mystery of it all cradle you as you float peacefully into the future. Good night.